with Voice for the Children. Voice for the Children is a nonprofit organization that locates and educates on the subject of parental abduction.
He had just turned 10 that year, and when I went to pick my son up, I had already been served papers by the dad. He wanted to change custody, and I refused. So when I went to pick my son up from his summer visitation from his dad's not allowed to drive, so I did a lot of the back and forth. I went to pick him up, he refused. So I went to payphone, because I didn't have a cell phone at the time, called police. They met me out there. They read over my custody papers, saying it's time for his visitation to be over with and my son to be returned to me. And he read it, and he read it, and he looked at a calendar, and he went over there with me, and the dad said, no, we already called the police the day before, and you can't make me give him back. And then he lied to the officer and said that the visitation actually isn't over with till the following Saturday or Sunday, I believe it was. I waited another week, and I went back out, and this time I called the police ahead of time, and they met me nearby his house and read over my papers and said, well, the only thing I can do is go and stand by and see if your son wants to come home, and the dad will let him come home, and if so, then we'll do it so it'll be a peaceful exchange, and if not, then we can't help you.
Guardian ad litem program is appointed by the courts, and I represent the 19th Judicial Circuit here in Florida.
I think that a part of the problem is that many people are not aware. I can speak for parental alienation. Things like other types of child abuse, there are no cuts, there are no bruises, there are no broken bones.
When you certainly consider that there are two parents that are involved in raising a child, then that needs to be acknowledged by both parents. That when parents fall out of love, and when they disentangle, when they come apart, there's a lot of friction. You know, if you take two pieces of Velcro and pull that apart, you can feel the friction. But if you look closely, I bet you'll see smoke.
Everybody wants change, and everybody in the family rights movement knows that we need dramatic change for our children and for our families.
Another police officer showed up, I don't even know how. Another police officer showed up and said, you cannot make him, the dad, give the son back. It's a civil matter. She has to go to court to get a court order to enforce the court order she already has.
These court orders are to interview the children and be a voice for the children during the court proceedings.
See, everybody assumes because there's a custody law that when a child is abducted by a parent, the judge orders that the child be returned.
Not without a hearing.
We do have an attorney that's with the Guardian ad litem program. We have the volunteer, which goes out and does the research. That's what I am. So I'm not an attorney. I work as a layperson to gather information regarding the case that may be in an unbiased fashion.
Even after the magistrate ordered my son's father to give him back, make arrangements with my attorney that day to give him back to me that day. He refused, and he argued with the magistrate, and the magistrate said, do not make me send the sheriff's department over to get him up. That is not good for your child. And he argued again, and she told my attorney to write up the order, and it still took another 3 weeks. No one knew, once you have an order signed, who gets the order? How do they go and pick the child up?
We represent the children and interview the children of what's going on in their lives post-removal, if the children are removed from that parent that's been the offending parent, or in the case of disputes of custody, if one parent is a non-offending parent and the other parent has committed some offense, the child generally would be taken to civil court.
We need to figure out what approaches now can courts put into place that will prevent these types of behaviors from occurring.
When you take a child away from one of its own two parents, you're taking a child away from half of itself.
I got served in June. I finally got my son back. I want to say the second week, about the 11th of September.
It kind of warps our children, and they're deprived of half of themselves, and that, of course, is the main core reason why we're rampant in this country now with 10 and 15 and 20 times more likely of the kids to be in suicides and drugs and high school dropouts and gang violence and teenage pregnancies and this and that and the other.
With parental alienation, the child can be as close as across the street, but they are emotionally kidnapped and emotionally removed from a parent's family, a parent's friends.
And I called the police, and the police met me at the dad's house, and they tried to persuade him, and finally, because my son was 2, and the dad was holding him in his arms, and he said, "I want mommy," the dad let me have him. And then the police officer talked to me and said, "You need to go to court, make sure you get papers stating, custody papers saying who he lives with, then we can help you." But that's not true, because you can have that custody paper in your hands,
That's right.
and police cannot do anything about it until you go back to court with those papers and say, "Look, he won't give them back, and this is what's already been ordered," and then you have to prove, and he has to prove his allegations are true, which they were proved false.
That it comes from the Department of Children and Families when there's an alleged abuse or neglect. That's when the guardian is assigned.
And he had no right to keep them, and I still allowed the visitation. I didn't try to take the visitation away, and yet he's done it again now.
Just the mere allegation of it sometimes isn't strong enough for a DCF or Department of Children and Families to take an action.
I think it really boils down to this. The federal government says, these are the United States, which means each state has their own set of laws, and they prefer, for a number of reasons, I'm sure, that each state handle domestic matters. In spite of the fact that other Western countries have recently had great successes in passing legislation to assure the rights of both parents.
And if their family is not together anymore, at least the child still needs to be with both parents to be able to progress and grow and learn and develop healthily and naturally, so we can have a functioning society as opposed to a society that's literally falling apart.
Moved him out of the county, has refused to let me talk to him, and when he still lived here, refused to let me see him, and they took off, and they did not get permission. They've removed him from this jurisdiction.
Now, if the absence of any abuse or neglect allegations, I'm not sure if there can be a guardian assigned by a judge. Although these things can be asked for in motions and petitions.
So part of the process is really educating our judges and our legislators.
Their parents are allowed to do whatever they want, and it's up to the other parent or whoever to go to court, spend the money on an attorney, and have a hearing.
Sometimes the child's therapist may be solely there for the child's interest, and they're not really there to help the parent.
I've spent $20,000 now, just in this last year.
But you spent much more than that before.
Oh, yeah. I've even had to file bankruptcy.
Who really don't understand what their behaviors do to a child. And if you just educate them, they will then make a conscious effort to improve their behaviors. And then there are those parents, no matter what, they're going to do what they're going to do. And that is where the courts need to step in. They need to have teeth with their laws and with their court orders.
And when you're talking about advocating for change, then what's really important is to get the information to those who I call the gatekeepers. And these are those individuals that have the opportunity to affect public policy. They have the opportunity to affect changes in state law. They have the opportunities to bring new sight into individual court processes.
We need to always do what we're doing right now, right here in this spot, which is spreading awareness and education to the people themselves. And of course, there's a whole level. You got your legislators and politicians, you've got your judges and court industry. There's the American taxpayer. If they realized what they were paying for, they would be outraged.
So the more we're out there and the more we're educating the public and bringing people together that have been victimized, the better it will turn out to be.